watching Arise News Night. Joining us now is Benjamin Kalu, the Chairman House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, for this conversation around the National Assembly resumption. Let's get the conversation started. Good evening. It's good to have you on the show with us tonight. What's the update on the Constitution amendment? I think this is the elephant in the room for the National Assembly as they resume.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and viewers, thank you for tuning in. As we are resuming from tomorrow, definitely we are not going to sit, because we have a tradition that when we lose a member, we have to adjourn to the following day. So what is going to happen tomorrow is that we will all meet and honor our departed colleague. And thereafter, the business of the National Assembly through the House of Representatives will commence from the following day. On the issue of the constitution review, there are a lot of issues that on the front burner for the House of Representatives. The constitution review happened to be one of them. As you are aware, an ad hoc committee that is headed by the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives has been up and doing with regards to discharging that particular responsibility. Public hearings have taken place, and the committee is working seriously to ensure that the input of Nigerians who participated during the public hearing will not be thrown to the trash can. But as you know, the process of reviewing the Constitution or Constitution amendment is not an overnight task. It takes a while for it to be completed. The process includes, it involves even governors of the state and their houses of assembly, and the two-third assent from them on some of the issues that were going to raise by the committee, as well as the National Assembly, the Senate, two-third, and also the House of Rep, two-third. So the process is ongoing, but we know Nigerians want this to be rounded up as quickly as possible. But one of the decisions of the House of Representatives is that we are not going to sacrifice quality review on the altar of speed. So while Nigerians want us to take care of all these areas of needs in our Constitution, we align ourselves with them. But in doing so, the committee has been charged with the responsibility of ensuring the quality delivery of this particular responsibility must be one of the focus of the task.
Okay, so condolences on the passing of your colleague. And I know you just spoke about this, but Nigerians really, really want to know how soon, you can just give us a ballpark number, how soon should we expect a harmonized copy of this Electoral Act amendment?
Thank you very much. As you know, both chambers of the National Assembly have looked at this all-important piece of legislation. And in the process of lawmaking, the whole 9 yards of making a piece of legislation become what it ought to be entails having what we call the conference committee. The conference committee is when both chambers will meet. The leadership of both chambers will discuss on how many numbers to send from each of the chambers, and they will sit to do the harmonization. It's one of the things that we're going to handle as we go back. I spoke to the leadership of the House today, and they are in consultation with each other, with the House of Rep as well as the Senate, and I'm sure it's one of the things we want to discharge as quickly as possible. Before we go on this next holiday, which is a Christmas holidays, I'm sure Nigerians will have that piece of legislation forwarded to Mr. President. If possible, have the assent of Mr. President on that piece of legislation.
Honorable Benjamin Kalu, the Chairman House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, thank you so much for your time this evening. the National Assembly is big news. So, welcome back to our Rise News Night. Joining us now is Senator Ajibola Basiru, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, and his colleague, Benjamin Kalu, the Chairman, House Committee on Media and Public Affairs. Benjamin, thank you very much for standing by. We thought we were going to let you go, but now that your colleague is here, we're holding you back. Awa has the first question for you.
Yes, gentlemen, thank you. I want to know what the update is on the e-transmission of the electronic voting.
Like I rightly mentioned that where we are with the Electoral Act at the moment, the Electoral Bill, Amendment Bill, it's not yet an act at the moment, is that conference committee will be set up between the Senate and the House of Representatives. And you know the purpose of doing that is to harmonize our various positions, especially if there is any position where we vary, from one another. I know the concern of so many Nigerians has been Section 58.2 in our own drafting or bill that we considered, and also 58.3 for the Senate, on whether or not there should be some preconditions before the use of electronic voting. The House maintained the position as forwarded by the drafters of this particular bill, which is that it should be left at the discretion of the unbiased umpire to decide whether or not it is convenient for them to use manual or electronic, as long as at the end of the day the core objective is achieved, which is having a transparently obtained result that is also reported and recorded, for those who participated in the process. So we left it, which is what Nigerians are asking for. Nigerians wanted to be left for the unbiased umpire to decide when to use it. And the reference we always make with regards to this particular position is the recently conducted Ondo election, and I think, is it Oyo, Edo, and Ondo election or thereabout, yes, where, they chose on their own to use electronic transmission, yeah, or not to use electronic transmission. And at the moment, it has been adjudged that those particular election and the result collation was one of the best so far in Nigeria. So we are leaving it for them. But when we sit, the purpose of having a bicameral system of legislature is that when you sit and you look at various perspective to a particular issue, the perspective of the Senate, if it is different and is supported with a strong reason, we will look at that and see how we will come. Yes, I'm saying when we sit at the conference committee, we'll be able to harmonize the position of the Senate and that, whether actually it varies with that of House of Rep or not. Maybe it could be the public interpretation to the position of the Senate and also the position of the House of Rep to know if there is anywhere we'll cross T's and dot the I's to make sure we have something that reflects the wishes of Nigerians, the desires, the hunger of Nigeria. Those are the people we are making this law for, and what they desire should be reflected in the piece of legislations that we make as a parliament.
Okay, I'm interested. We talked about the constitution amendment or review and all of that. So I'm going to ask Honorable Senator Ajibola Basiru about the MTEF, which is the medium-term expenditure framework, and the fiscal strategy paper for 2022, which will form the basis for the year 2022 budget. Let's talk about money.
First and foremost, I think we can't just talk about money without talking about the perspective of the Senate as regards the issue of electoral transmission of results, which my colleague has elaborated on the position of the other chamber of the parliament. Our own position is that the language submitted to us for adoption at the Senate is nebulous, indistinct, vague, and capable of doing mischief. And that is why we adopted a radically different language from that recommended by the Gaia Committee and also accepted by the House of Representatives. So, and just as he has said, there will be a conference committee to determine what will be the final language of the relevant section of the electoral bill before it will be passed on to the president. And we are also representative of Nigerians. Some of us are well groomed in the act of legislative drafting. And of course, we are also conscious of possible mischief that unguided, unbridled, and fake discretion, rather nebulous, as in the language proposed, could be done to electoral process in Nigeria. But that will be sorted out at the conference committee report. On the issue of the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, it is a necessary process towards this putting in place of the 2022 Appropriation Act. And you know, under the Nigerian law, the medium-term expenditure framework, it will set the parameters upon which the 2022 appropriation will be based. For instance, what will be the baseline for the price of crude, which is the mainstay of the Nigerian economy, what volume of crude is expected to be produced on a daily basis. That will be the benchmark of the financial parameters for the 2022 appropriation, and some other key fiscal strategy to realize the objective of the appropriation will also be in the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. So it is hoped that the report, after the public hearing held sometime last week, would have been ready. But just as has been said, the Senate, just like the House of Rep, may not sit tomorrow beyond adopting resolutions to observe a minute silence for our departed colleague, I think from Ondo State, and then the proceedings will proceed on the following legislative day, which is Wednesday. So I believe that the medium-term expenditure framework will be especially dealt with at both chambers, so that before in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we expect the executive, represented by the president, to present the 2022 appropriation, so that we can continue to maintain our stand of January to December budget cycle.
Mr. Basiru, thank you for that. Honorable, how will we be addressing the VAT controversy, and when is it likely to be passed?
If it's a question about VAT, I believe there are presently litigation going on in that regard. I think it will be subjudiced for us to begin to make a comment on matters that have been subjected to jurisdiction of the courts. And in any event, this event occurred while we are still in recess. I believe if there will be any thing that will be said, then until we resume and the leadership is properly briefed as to what are the issues involved and what is ongoing, in a way that we must respect the separation of power and the independence of judiciary, then we can now be able to say whether we want to articulate any position. For now, what I can say is that we don't have any comment, and there's no position as far as Senate is concerned on the matter for now.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Thank you for the discussion.